Oh, hi everybody.
Welcome to the Peony.
The Peony. Hey everybody.
Peony. We need like a sliding whistle.
Like that? Is that good enough? I don't know.
I might not know what a sliding whistle is.
I don't really know if I was doing a sliding whistle or not, but
okay. Well,
I don't know.
We tried.
Yeah.
We tried. This is what happens when you do all your own sound effects. Not for budgetary issues, just because that's our aesthetic. That's our style.
I did realize it sounded more like I was doing like a gentle car horn, like a car alarm, just but whistle. Anyway. Okay. I'm done anyway.
Why don't they make those anymore?
Car alarms, they do. They go off in my neighborhood all the time.
Those specific ones.
They're
not on the newer cars, are they?
Well, I live in a neighborhood where not everybody has a newer car, so the cars that they have that car
on
alarm.
The newer cars. Like why don't they put them on the newer cars?
Because
or why
too many complaints? I don't know.
It's technology. So why can't you use an app to modify your car alarm to be whatever you want, like a little 8-bit ringtone, but it's your car alarm, so that you know when 8-bit WAP is playing, you're like, oh, my car is getting broken into.
8-bit WAP, man, that is I'm gonna have to see if that exists later. I'm sure it does.
Full of great ideas over here. Full of great ideas.
You. Yeah, they're true gems. Quite amazing. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Peony. I'm Lex.
Mm-hmm. I'm Julia. Jules.
Either one.
Douche Lord. I've been watching a lot of. I've been watching a lot of. Douche Lord is front of mind because I've been watching a lot of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, because it's the only show that my new puppy will fall asleep to. He will literally refuse a nap no matter how tired he is, and then he gets cranky, and then he gets like annoying. But like whenever I turn on the Kardashians, he's like, okay, and he settles down and he watches, and then he falls asleep. I don't know.
So weird and specific.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Mac, you're adorable, and we have much to learn about you in the coming years. What a puzzle. He has like,
what's his sign?
Is he a Sagittarius?
He's a Scorpio. I think he's no. He's a Libra. October 15th. He's a Libra.
Oh, that's my brother's birthday, and that's the day I found Taylor. Oh, cute. Okay,
we're linked cosmically.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you think that Mac is cute, because he is a fucking terrorist.
Well, I don't live with him. I just get to see cute photos of him on the internet.
Did you know that because a puppy has a tiny bladder, you have to take it out to pee like every few hours at night?
No, I have some puppy pads if you want me to send them to you.
No, we have plenty of puppy pads, but we want him to learn to go outside so that when he's older, he'll be able to hold it. But we want him to like know that outside is where you go. And he's very good. He'll like walk up to the sliding door and like wait there and look at you, and you open it, and he goes outside and he does his business by himself, and then he comes back, and eventually we'll put a doggy door in. But right now we have him sleeping upstairs in our bedroom. And so at midnight, 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. we get up, we take him out of his little crate, we bring him downstairs, down 1.5 flights of stairs, outside into the freezing cold, drop him in the grass, not like put him down in the grass.
Yeah, I got you.
He does his business. Fucking he does his business, and then you have to fucking carry him all the way back upstairs, because he will go the 2 steps from the outside into the house, but any more than that, he'll go and sit at the bottom of the stairs and stare at you and be like, okay, come on.
You have way too much patience, because I would have been like, all right, I'm going back upstairs, figure it out, my dude. Except I'm sure then he would like eat the sofa or something. So that there's also that.
Yeah.
Whew.
So
Puppies.
He's cute though.
He is very cute.
And then he looks into my eyes and he just like gives me that like beautiful serotonin boost, that oxytocin boost of like, I love you more than life itself. And then I'm like, okay, fine. Like,
and then he farts.
I guess you're not that bad. His farts are like Chernobyl level catastrophic. And he burps too. And he snores. And he basically is just a canine version of my fiance. The two of them have like at night,
like a snoring competition.
They talk to each other. Like Garrett will be like, and then Mac will be like, and then Garrett will be like, and then Mac will be like, and it's like they have a whole conversation. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm in between the two of them. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Oh no.
Anyway. Our episode today is not about dogs or puppies or snoring or farts. It's actually, we have a beautiful guest who has a delightful and wonderful energy and is an incredible creative and has had a very non-linear path to expressing that creativity and has kind of not transcended, but like moved in the face of fear or in the face of potentially stress or pressure from society or from family to pursue what her dreams are. Very similar to our previous guest, Robert, and myself, comes from an immigrant family, was going to go to law school, got in, and decided, no, creativity and writing is what she wanted to do. And then that led her during the pandemic to explore a more physical, tangible form of her creativity. So not only is she a writer, a playwright, she's also an amazing crochet master who makes beautiful pieces of apparel and has her own Etsy shop. And the conversation was literally like teardrops down my face.
Teardrops on my guitar. Yes. Yeah, so we have Mary from Hooked and Looped on the show, and we hope y'all enjoy this beautiful interview.
Yes. Okay, Mary, I have a question. I'm going to just launch right in. I recently finished my first crochet project ever. And I need to know, how do you not get the, like my hand was frozen in a claw for the whole next day. Like, help me not have that happen. Thank you.
Okay, so your hand got frozen into a claw for the next day. Yeah. Am I diagnosing you right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're gripping too tight as you're doing it. Are you?
I think it's a control thing that goes back to my childhood.
It's on the wrist. You got to keep it loose. Keep a loose wrist. That's my recommendation.
Okay. That's good advice. Yeah. Well, I get too worried that if I hold it too loose, then the stitches, I don't know the lingo. I literally just did one project for my YouTube video. I know nothing. But I get worried that they're going to be too loose and then just everything's not going to be even or pretty.
Or it's all just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
No, it won't, but it does take practice. I started out gripping it way too tight too, and my bones would hurt. Like, I know how you feel.
Yeah.
Not only in the wrist, it's like in the arm.
Yeah.
If you do it for a while. But just like keep it going. I mean, that's cool that you did one. A lot of people give up just like a few stitches in. They're like, nope, not for me. But it's cool that you finished an entire project. What was it?
It was like a little bralette top, and the cups weren't even, and the straps were way too long because I was lazy and didn't try it on like in between while I was making it. But I did it and I finished it, and it was such a meditative process. A little more math than I would like.
Yes.
But it was nice when I was doing it and like in the groove, and I was watching Great British Bake Off because like this is the coziness I need in my life as a little granny.
Exactly. Well, first of all, a top is a hard thing to start with because there is a lot of measuring. Cup size, like measuring your cup sizes could be challenging. as well as like your back and your straps. So that's a hard project to start with. I started with like a square, like just like a square of yarn, you know, just to get the hang of it. But good job. That means you got something. You got a little talent.
Thank you. Yeah, I only do things the hard way. It's a weird, like, masochistic trait in my soul. I'm like, it's not hard. I don't want to bother. But okay, so you started with squares. I want to rewind even further, because we were talking off air a little bit, and crocheting isn't the only creative outlet that you have. It's not the only creative thing you do. So if we were to go back all the way to the beginning, whether it's with crochet, whether it's with your writing or any creative venture, do you have a prominent first memory of doing something creative that sparked that joy in you?
What a good question. Nobody has ever asked me that.
My
I guess
little old lady self likes to reminisce about the times
back in my day.
I don't think I have a first memory because I feel like it's always been a part of me. So I can't really pinpoint a moment where I knew. I feel like even, you know how like you're just a certain way and you don't know you are until somebody like puts a name or a label on it and you're like, that is me, you know? So that's how I feel. I've always been more towards like the arts, humanities. Even as a kid, that was just me. I loved being part of like plays at school, dance routines, always that, you know, less on the math and science aspect of it, I guess. But back then I didn't know there was a name. I didn't know there were like different kinds of, you know, hobbies that people could have that aren't like mine. But I guess fast forwarding a little bit to when I did know that about all of that, my first creative my first creative outlet would need to be writing. That's the first thing I can think of is writing. That's what I studied at school, you know, and I only chose that because I loved it. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about how there could be like stigmas attached to that, you know, especially in my culture. I'm Armenian, so within my culture, it's a little bit, it's like expected to choose to study something that will guarantee you a successful career, you know, like a traditional lawyer, doctor, you know, aim high, you know, there's a lot of pressure to do that. And I guess I could understand why, like a lot of people who are my age, their parents were immigrants to America. And there's this like pressure of like, you need to make something out of your life, kid, because I brought you here for that reason.
Yeah.
And we escaped whatever tragic, you know, like situation in our country to bring you here. You need to make it all worth it. And it's like this intense pressure on your shoulders, right? Because you're just like, you're young, you're trying to figure yourself out. You don't even think about, wait a minute, what do I like to do? Who am I? You know, it's like, what? And I do feel like not a lot of people talk about that within the community. I've never really sat down and said, what, like, do you guys think we should do something else, or we should do what our parents want? You know, it almost never happens. It's very built in, so you don't even question it. And so because of that, everybody is very motivated to succeed, and like, I have to make money, I have to be successful. My kids can't live the way I lived, you know, I have to make my family proud of me. So because of that, it's built in that you must study and get a good job. So when I said, you know, my major is going to be English, guys, there was my family, not so much. I'm really lucky to have like a supportive family, which I know a lot of people had to go through so much more hardship just to choose a creative major, or like a major that's not in the sciences, or, you know, because so besides my family, I did have other people tell me, English, you know, what are you going to do with that? what's that going to do? Like, the only thing you could do is teacher, and they don't make a lot of money. And, you know, there's always some like, so that would be the older generations, like my parents, and even some people whose opinion I never asked for, you know, like when it's like, I don't know, are you trying to help me pay my bills or what? Like, what are you talking? What do you need from me? I don't know. So anyways, but as I was telling you guys earlier, the reason I chose English was I love writing and reading, but also I knew that it would be a good major to go into for law school, which was my original plan. And they always said, if you want to be a lawyer, English is good because, you know, you learn how to blah, 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 read a lot and write a lot. Yeah. That was my original plan. Didn't work out. I hated it. I'm just going to say it. I mean, like, we're here to speak honestly. So yeah. I hated everything about it, but kudos to those who did it and enjoy it. I mean, it's a cool profession, just wasn't for me. So then creativity has always been, you know, like a part of me. I can't really remember a time when I didn't want to do creative things. But after writing, so I'm going to start talking about my outlet of crocheting, if that's okay with y'all.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course. Yeah.
That one is really recent, actually. I started crocheting and knitting right in the beginning of the pandemic. Okay. So the reason for that was, like everyone, I didn't have anything to do. You know, I was like, what do I do with all this free time? I'm not going to work. I work in a school, so schools were closed. You know, early on, they closed right like beginning of March. So yeah. I just needed something to do. And it had a lot to do with actually my mental health at the time, because I'm the type of person who, if I don't have a set schedule, I get anxious. I start like, I need some sort of like structure or something to make me feel like I'm doing something rewarding, or, you know, putting my time, like using my time up wisely, or something that feels rewarding to me. Yeah. So I was just, let me try knitting. Why not? So it started out like that. And then I just like really enjoyed how it made me feel. Like it helped me have more patience. It's the type of craft that your mind is busy. And Julia, like you said, like there's a lot of math involved, but once you get the hang of it, like the fact that you're counting, it helps your mind, just like you're doing something, you know, like you're thinking about this and you're doing this right now. So that helped me I was struggling with a bit of anxiety. It helped me with that. I was less anxious as I was doing it. And I like that you can have something in the background happening. You're like, yes, like what you were watching. So you can like listen to an audiobook, watch a show, and it keeps me busy, you know? So that's how it all started for me. I just enjoy the way it made me feel during a tough time.
Yeah. Oh, that's so special. I know so many of us picked up hobbies. My fiance tried to do the whole bread baking thing, and it ended up in one exploding loaf. And then we were like, okay, we're good. We're fine.
maybe not a bakery, Garrett. Yeah. You know.
Well, it's interesting because we were just talking to another guest who is also Armenian, also comes from an immigrant family, went to law school. I'm an immigrant from a former Soviet republic. I also almost went to law school.
My goodness.
It's so interesting that we're all finding each other right now. There's something in the universe right now. I've talked to so many people that are like spiritual and astrologers and tarot readers, and they're like, we've had enough. Like collectively as a society, we've had enough with this pandemic. And we went through the hobby stages. We went through the existential crisis stages. We went through, maybe we're still in the existential crisis and or depression and or anxiety, you know, what it's done to our mental health. And they all agree that there's something in the planetary movements. I don't know if anyone, like if you guys believe in this, or listeners, if you believe in this, but that we are coming to a breaking point where we're all basically going to say, okay, this isn't serving me anymore. Like this relationship isn't serving me anymore, or this like mentality isn't serving me anymore. And so in the next, like, I think it's the next 2 weeks is going to be like make or break. And then we're going to sail into the new year, basically like with clarity of, no, this is what I want to do. I'm like, I've narrowed it down. Nothing's going to stop me. This is what I want. And I mean, sometimes all you got to do is ask the universe and it starts sending you opportunities.
That's super reassuring. I love that.
I'm holding on to it.
Yeah.
With my little crochet claws. I'm like holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad. But it's so interesting that you spoke to someone else and that you yourself know exactly what I mean. Yeah, it's intense.
What was that moment like for you when because you said you went to law school for a week and you decided it wasn't for you. Can you remember what that was like for you emotionally when you realized that? And how did you decide what was next?
Yes, I do. That's like carved in my memory because I felt terrible, honestly. I was having a really hard time. I knew since day one, like it's weird because it was like a switch. I went in so excited. I thought I'm here, like, and it's a good law school and everything I've been working for is like realizing itself. And I went in, everything was fine. And then just as the day progressed, like day one, like orientation day, I remember thinking, man, like something just I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it was a big moment where you just realize it's like a full circle moment, when it dawns on you and you're just like, I know it in my gut. I know it in my heart. But of course you try to like fool yourself a little bit. Oh, let's see how it plays out. Maybe it's just like first day jitters, all of that stuff. So that day came and went. And then second day, same feeling. Third day, same feeling. And then I had a friend who was in his third year there, and I talked to him about it. I said, what, did you feel this way? Or he's like, no, I love it, and he we talked about how if you don't like it, like you are studying to be in this field, and the field is going to feel the same. And what you don't enjoy about law school, you're not going to enjoy about the work because it's the same thing that you're studying to do. For me, it was a lot of, I guess you have to have a certain character. I guess you have to be really passionate about law, right? Like you're there to study it and you're going to be a student of law. And I feel like you have to be really into it. And all of my classmates were, and I felt like, man, I don't want to do it the way you're doing it. It's not right for me. So when I finally decided I'm not going to go through with it, that's when I started feeling really bad because I had so many people telling me things like, what do you mean? You should continue. How can you stop now? And I had other people like, no one's forcing you, why do you have to? So it was just a conflict in my head. But when I decided not to do it, I felt really heavy. It was this feeling of like, so now what? That's the feeling that made me feel the worst. It's like, okay, my whole life plan, like what I thought I wanted changed. So what now? What? Like, how am I even going to support myself? Or what am I going to do now? Like literally in this moment, like if I'm not attending law school, where am I going to go? What job am I going to have? What else am I going to do? And that feeling lasted for a while. It lasted me like a good few months. Like I want to say like half a year, I just felt that weight on me. And I had to like do meditation, like a lot of things to just like release it. And I remember like this one day I had like a good cry, when you just like, you cry, you like ugly cry and you like, leave me immediately. Yeah. And so I had one of those cries and it was like those like ugly shaking cries, you know. And I was like, all right, like after that, I was like, I'm gonna do something. I don't know what, but it's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna do it soon. And I'm not gonna let myself stay in this like feeling sorry for myself stage, because it just, I put things in perspective, and I was like, okay, realistically, this problem isn't even like, I'm healthy, you know, like I'm all right. What am I even worried about? And I realized a lot of that came from the pressure that we were talking about earlier. It's not, it wasn't my own voice telling me these things. It was just like my, you know, like your whole ancestors are just like,
yes.
Yeah.
wait, like I promise I'll do something else with my life. But then I was like, all right, this is not an actual life-threatening problem. I'm gonna relax. I'll figure my way out. But yeah, it took me a while to realize that. And in the moment you feel like the world's ending, but you grow.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point to bring up, is like the whole life-threatening, because a lot of our family members, where they came from, what they escaped, what they ran from, as a lot of, you know, immigrant stories are, it was survival. There were life-threatening events. And so at least what I saw with my family is when we got to the States, and even now to this day that we've been in the States for, you know, almost 30 years, there's still that fear. There's still that we don't feel completely safe. Whereas I grew up, you know, I came here when I was 4, grew up in America. I mean, I grew up in New York City, and that's the only thing I didn't feel safe about was like walking by myself after dark. But like, I never felt that whole like idea of my life is being threatened by a regime or by a group or, you know, by these things. And the only way to get through it is to have this very respectable path in life. And I think that's definitely the disconnect, is my family feels this fear of like, oh no, it's not safe to, you know, be an artist or be a writer, or, you know, what is a podcast? And I'm like, no, like this is the future. We're here, we're safe. But again, yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, at least in my family, I won't speak for anyone else's, but there's a lot of that generational trauma of just where they grew up.
Yes, I agree. Generational trauma, that's like the term for all of this. It's true. And it's so hard to break. It's like a cycle, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I always think like they took a step of change, like to leave your country is so, I can't even, my mom was 24, I'm 28 now. And I just think to myself, when I was 24, could I pick up my life and move? Like, no. So, you know, I always tell her, Mom, you're so brave. That's cool that you did that, you know, like, and so in my mind, the fact that they did that, I feel like it's a small indicator of they do want to progress and change, right? It's like they're not so, you know, stuck in their ways is a good way to put it, but they're just like, I feel like there's a small part of everyone who's ready to like change. The fact that they even changed their country is telling of that. But I noticed like so many different types of generational trauma, like the safety thing, definitely. And then also when it comes to, this is what I noticed with my family and a little bit of the people around me, you know, my community, a lot of like, we don't have enough of something.
Yeah, the scarcity mindset.
Yes, exactly. So that lasts you your whole life. Like if that's how you grew up, if you grew up not having enough of something, food, clothing, anything like basic needs, you know, and even if you have it now, there's this mindset of, but I might not have it later, or maybe, you know, maybe I won't have enough. Like I have to share it with everyone, and then mine will, like, I won't have my piece, my share. And so a lot of that follows you, and it's like you want to tell them, you know, like, but look how much there is. It's fine now, but it's, of course, it's like much deeper than that, and it's a lot of things. Yeah,
it is.
I think for so many people, just in like with my family, I know like when I told my family, certain members of my family, like, I want to be an actor, it was this knee-jerk response of like, but that's not going to pay your bills. You're not going to be able to survive. You'll never make any money. Like it instantly went to this super negative thing. And I think like doctors, lawyers, like become a teacher, whatever it may be, there's this idea that that is consistent, it's stable, it's guaranteed. And the reality, especially as we're like, if I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, is that like nobody's safe. Nothing is guaranteed. Like, sure, you might get your MD, and yes, you can become a doctor, but is it guaranteed? Like at the start of the pandemic, when if you were, a dermatologist, or you were somebody, your specialty was in something that wasn't considered necessary, those were the first to go. So I have friends who are specialists, and they were immediately fired from hospital systems because that's not where they needed the workforce. And it was like, oh, you can't work in the ER? Like, too bad. And so it was even people who chose like very safe, quote unquote, safe careers weren't. And I think that's why like so many people throughout the pandemic were like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm going to go. If this isn't guaranteed either, then why am I not going to try something like writing or learning how to crochet and then turn that into a business? Like, why am I not going to go after the thing that inspires me to do something, or that I'm fulfilled by? Might as well try that if this safe option isn't even guaranteed either. So I think that's also part of this like big cultural shift that we're seeing, or I don't know if it's a huge cultural shift, but this like these next 2 weeks, the things that astrologers are telling us, I think it's also part of just, it's been 18 months of this and people are ready. They're very much like, no, like I'm going to do what I want. Why would I try anything else at this point? Might as well.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of people are just like quitting their jobs, and everywhere I go now, there's a now hiring sign, right? It's like, they like exactly what you said. I don't want to do this. Why? If I'm not appreciated here, or if this isn't even helping anyone, or like people are not even coming, why was I even doing this? Kind of feeling of like, oh my gosh, I was wasting my time doing this. I think that's a positive outcome of the pandemic, right? If it's kind of like the whole life is short way of thinking, right? So I think it put it in perspective, and I do support that. Like if you don't want to be a certain thing, don't be that thing for another minute, because you could be doing something else. But going back to what you said about like our families and the generational thing about like we can just, I feel very fortunate to even be able to like sit here and say, I don't want to do this, I want to do that, because it's a choice that not everyone has, right? So it goes back to like, well, what do you mean? Like you have to, or else you will not survive. Like it's so much. I've never been hungry, like a day in my life. I don't know what it's like you can't eat today. Kind of like this pressure of like, go out there and do something so that you and your family can eat. I don't know that pressure. And my parents do, so I always remind myself that you can't get mad at them, because you grew up so differently, and it's thanks to them that you grew up able to have things that they didn't have. And I always try to keep that in my mind, because that's like a major thing. Number one, right? You want to be fed, clothed, eat, have a roof over your head, and it's like not everybody does. And so I kind of feel bad when people are like upset with their parents, like you don't understand, blah blah blah. But then I always think you don't understand them in a way too, how they the battles that they had. And if they're telling you, oh, like acting, for example, it's not going to make you money, that I feel like they're not doing that to, I can't speak for everyone, of course, but they're not doing it to belittle you. They just mean they're so worried, because for them it was like, well, how are you, you can't. It's like you need money, because for them they needed it. in a much more, in a more serious way, in a scarier way.
And
they're protective.
Yes. And that's something, like, as I've gotten older, we've had those conversations. I don't know if I'll ever forget at the moment when the two people who were loudest about it that were like, no, you can't. Both of them grew up very, very poor.
Yes.
And so they have, like, worked their entire lives, busted their asses, and they have a really, very, like, financially secure life now. And, one that I think it's like that American dream, right?
Yeah.
But it was in college, they came and they saw a performance of mine, and it was the first time they ever saw me perform. And both of them were like, oh, we get it now. Like, this is a possibility for you. And we've had a lot of conversations, and we've come to an understanding where I'm like, I get where you guys are coming from. Like, it makes so much sense if you grew up never knowing when the next meal was going to hit the table. You had to start working when you were 12 or 13 to help your family keep a roof above your head. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And that's something that I'm grateful that they've shared their stories and shared their experiences so we can better understand each other, and grateful that they helped raise me and, made sure that, like, we were never in that situation. But yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, you have to understand, like, as a kid, I didn't understand where that was coming from. Now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I totally get why you would say that. And it came from a place of fear. And, fear and love all at the same time. And
fear does things to you. It does mess you up.
Oh yeah.
So it's all about perspective, like, try to put yourself in their shoes. And it's awesome that you had that movie moment of them being like, oh.
It was weird. I think I responded with, like, are you guys pod people? Like, because it was complete 180 from, what I'd heard my entire childhood. And I was like, are you my family? Wait, hold on.
Joke.
Like, where are the cameras? But I think it is one of those things where it's like, so often people are sort of, they're fueled by fear. One of my best friends in the same situation, my friend Jose, he was going to become a neuroscientist, and that's what his parents really wanted for him. And then when he decided to become an actor full time, they were really nervous. And now, it's been years, but now they're like, we want nothing more for you. Like, you are so happy and you are able to take care of yourself and you help us. And, I think when it comes to a creative field, I think sometimes it takes families just take some time to come around to it. And then eventually they see, like, oh, you can support yourself, like, doing something creative. What? But that's not what society tells you. Society tells you lawyer, doctor, professor, maybe journalist. Like, I can't even think of a third one.
Well, the path is so straightforward for some careers, especially, and for, especially in this day and age with social media, with the internet, like, anyone can, like, being a writer is so different, right? Like, you can write a novel. You can also write a blog post. Both of them can make you money. Both of them can make you successful or famous or whatever it is you're chasing down. But, when you think of lawyer, right? Okay, well, you go to school, you go to college, you go to law school, you graduate law school, you take the tests, you go, you practice, you retire, then you can do all of the things you wanted to do and didn't have time to do. And I think that's it. It goes back to the stability piece of, like, it's possible, but it's way less certain because the path is it's so much less straightforward. And I mean, if you take, in, like, Jose, for example, just, what is it, a national commercial he just booked for a mega company?
A few months ago he booked a McDonald's commercial, national McDonald's commercial. He was on an episode of Insecure. He's killing it.
Yeah. But I think Mary, you were saying that you chose English because reading and writing is what you've always loved to do. And writing is something that you are continuously drawn to. And with crocheting, it's something that you picked up and you also found passion in. I think that's the thing, is when you find passion in something, that passion and that drive and that joy that it brings you trumps all of the fear. Like, I don't know about you, the way that I feel it is I still very much feel fear and uncertainty, but now I can't go back to my life as it was. Now I can't, I foresee a future where I don't want to ask what if. I'm on this path right now and I'm so driven and propelled forward by something that feeds my soul in a way that nothing has ever done before. And I'm like, okay, this makes the scary stuff worth it, because I know that the love that I have for this thing or these things is stronger than whatever obstacles are in my way. I'll find a way around them because I'm driven by that love.
That's beautifully put.
Oh, thank you.
I get that. If you make any big decision, you feel scared and you feel like so uncertain. And then people say, like, good change is supposed to feel uncomfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable, you're about to like experience growth and do the thing that you thought you couldn't. And so once you do it, like you said, that's when you feel, that's what I'm about. It's like this feeling of, it might be hard and it's like less comfortable, I guess, than it was before. But at the same time, it's like you're shifting into who you are, kind of. You don't want to regress, right? If you go back, you regress. And then even like, I guess the most recent thing I can compare that to is in my life is like moving out of my parents' house, which, by the way, is also rare in the Armenian community, only because the only time you need to move out is when you're getting married. Where else are you going? You know, it's like either that or to college. Those are the two things. If you're not married, moving out on your own is very rare. I want to say now it's starting to be more common. I only know one other person besides myself who moved out not due to marriage. So moving out on my own was like that step for me that it was scary, and I didn't even move far. It was just this feeling of like, I know I have to do this, but I'm so scared to. And I don't know why. It's like, what if this is what I want to do? Why is it so scary to me if I'm so sure? And then I guess the change, like, you know, just something that's about to change, your life's about to, and then it's also uncertain. You have all these questions, like silly questions. What if I'm sick one day? Who's going to take care of me? You know, like, it's like, what if I'm so hungry? And I'm like, what if, you know, all these what ifs. And the only answer is like, just do it and then see how it goes, you know, and nothing can prepare you. You just have to. I went on Reddit. I was like, let me see what other people are saying, you know, but it doesn't prepare you enough as like, just do it and see. So I totally get what you're saying, Julia. It's like, you take the scary step and it was so scary, but you would not trade it for anything else because you're doing what you love and you just feel like that's the path you should be on. So I commend you. That's awesome that you're closer to where you want to be.
Thank you. I commend you. You're being all brave in all sorts of ways. Okay, I wanna talk about your writing just for a little bit. I'm always very curious to know, because everyone has a different process. Everyone has a different way that like allows their juices, their energies, their inspiration to flow. What's your kind of ideal writing space? Time of day? What does your table look like? What do you need in place?
Amazing question. Okay, it's making me like picture my ideal space. I'm the type that I don't need it to be a certain way. It depends on my mood. So sometimes I'm like a coffee shop girl, you know, like with all the sounds in the background, and then like just like my chai latte, and I'm in a coffee shop and it feels right. Sometimes I don't want to be at a desk. I don't want to be sitting up straight. I want to be like slouched, only because it's like I just want to be in bed with my laptop. That's just another creative space for me. And then so I don't have a particular physical space, but my space is more mental. I have to have like no worries in the moment, right? You can't be I can't be thinking about something else. I can't have like another deadline that's like in my ear telling me to do that instead. I have to just be kind of free, and I also have to have an idea.
Right.
I know some people like sit at their laptop and wait for it to come, but I can't. And it's not, staring at the screen is not going to give me an idea. So I only start writing when something is already like happening in my head. And my ideas usually come like, it's so weird, but I've experienced this multiple times. Like right when I wake up, I think it was the dream I was seeing or what, I don't know exactly where, but like right that moment when you're still sleepy but you're awake, and the idea comes, some sort of idea comes, and I write it down quickly. I'm like and I write down like, it's just like random words like this, that, and then when I'm more awake, I take a look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, good thing I wrote it down, I would have forgotten it. So I never force myself. I don't like sit down, okay, like it's time to write. It's just, it has to feel right, and then I do it.
Are you working on anything right now that you could maybe tease us with?
I was like, NaNoWriMo just ended, so I don't know if you did that.
I do have a few pieces that are unfinished that I'm constantly adding to. One of them is a short novel, like a short story, kind of like a dystopian future type of short story. I have the beginning, I have the idea, the characters are all in my head. I get a lot of ideas where I like express them to somebody, like my brother, who by the way is also really into like video games, and he's a computer science major, but he's like into the whole gaming world. And I tell him my idea, and he's like, there's already a game like that. He's like, this exists. I'm like, what? I promise, like I invented it in my head. And he's like, no, this is exactly that game. I'm like, okay, and I don't know, it's like, it's really fun I love writing. I can talk about it for hours, but I can give you more information about my project that I did for my master's thesis.
Yeah.
And it was actually a play. So so the professor for that class was the chair, like the head of the playwriting portion of the university. And so I took a few of his classes, and he was really into it. He was a playwright himself, and like the director of the play and all of that. So he kind of taught me how to write a play, like all the little details about it. And I loved it ever since. So that was my project for that. And it was my first time, like I was like really into it, and I got to stage it. I got to stage it with my really close friend who's an actress. Nice. And and so my play only has 2 characters. I needed her and an actor, and she found like the perfect actor for the guy's role. And it was so fun, like that, those few months of working on that with them. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, like being an actor is hard. Let me say, like I found a new respect for the acting profession. I never knew, like, I never spent enough time watching them work. And I was like, okay, there was a point where I didn't know if they were acting or just talking to me. And I would always confuse the two because they were so good. I'm like, did you forget your line? She's like, no, I'm waiting. Like, I have to deliver it this way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like, I thought the pause was like you forgetting your line. And she's like, no. And I would always get confused because they were so good. And then their acting felt like so natural. And I've never seen that before. And then there was this whole, I don't know if you guys remember, like, at one point CSUN was getting like threats. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yes.
There was like writing on the wall
Yes.
that there's going to be a mass shooting
Yeah.
on this day. And so the university was taking it seriously, and they canceled classes because there was a threat on the bathroom walls. So we didn't go to class during a time when I had to present that final of my play. So the professor said, just do it. You do it. You know, like you act on your play and send me a video. Like, easy, right? Easy enough. And I was so bad. Oh my gosh. I didn't know how bad I was. And these are lines that I wrote, and I couldn't deliver my own lines. I was just like, why can't I say this naturally? Why do I sound like this? And so after watching actors do it, I was like, wow, you guys are good. You know, like how did you get here? How did you get to be so good? They're like, they grilled their ass at school. They both went to AMDA.
Oh,
like, yeah. We had to go through a lot. They told me a lot of like criticism and the teachers, you know, and it's like, respect to you guys. It's an amazing art. It's really cool to watch.
Yeah.
To watch the work.
AMDA's sorry, it's my
Taylor always trying to get a cameo.
He's usually pretty chill when I record, but he's been all over today. Yeah, AMDA's intense because it's conservatory style, which is not common in the United States, but I don't think there are a lot of conservatory style programs in Southern California in particular, unless you're like going for your BFA. But I think with AMDA, I think you graduate with your BA. I think. So it's a little bit different. So that is not super common for a Bachelor of Arts. Yeah.
Well, Mary, you have another theater actor classically trained at your disposal for your next play, your next project.
Ever need anything, let me know.
I love this. We're bringing people together.
Heyo. Do you mind if I ask who your favorite writer or authors are?
I have so many. One of them is Agatha Christie. I love detective fiction. And she was the first book I've read where it's called Unreliable Narrator, where the narrator is lying to you, you know, and I think she's she's like the inventor of it.
Yeah.
She made it happen. And I remember at the end reading it, and like I don't know if I won't tell you which book this is, I guess, to not, if you ever want to read it, but the narrator was the killer. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how have you been lying to me this whole time? Like,
how dare you?
So that's what started, like, I really enjoy her writings, Agatha Christie. And then who else? Oh, it's really hard. I'm really into like the cliche romantic era writers, only it's just so beautiful, the way it makes me feel. So like Wordsworth, Byron, all of them. I love J.K. Rowling. Full disclosure, I love Harry Potter. She's a good writer. Like I just the style of writing. And I'm putting aside all like personal, you know, things about her.
Yeah.
Just her writing style, the way she can put words together and make a scene come to life. Like that's what I enjoy. I have so many, I can't even remember all of them right now, but it's a pretty wide like variety of different things I enjoy.
I saw a TikTok that said that Voldemort's wand was made out of yew, YEW, and yew trees are Death Eater trees. They literally just would bury people for decomposition. And that, did you see this, Lex? Explain it better than me.
No, I didn't see it. That's one of those things where like, because Harry Potter was, I remember being crisscross applesauce sitting on my twin size bed reading the first book for the first time. And she has so much of that like throughout, where the symbolism of certain certain things is intense. And that was one, I can't remember if it was not Pottermore, but I'm dating myself. It was like a really popular, oh my God, MuggleNet.
What house is everyone?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Hell
okay. Yeah.
Are we all Gryffindor?
Yeah, we are.
Nice. Suck it, Slytherins.
I wanted to be a Slytherin.
You would.
You did?
I wanted to be a little naughty, but
Okay, wait, did you take the test?
Gryffindor.
Did you do the like Pottermore, just the straight Pottermore test? Because there is a version. I can send it to everybody if you want.
Great.
Where
yes.
someone went through, this was the original Pottermore quiz, because I think there's like 50 some odd questions. But they pulled every single question, and what it does is you fill it all out, and it tells you the percentage that you are of each house.
Oh yeah, send that to us.
Yeah, I'll send that. So like,
I'm volunteering you too.
Dope. I'll send it out. Yeah. So I'm always like, but did you do that one? Because that's like the more accurate one. And people are like, shut up, you nerd.
Well, okay.
So you might be a Slytherin, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, we're gonna see. We'll get a group chat
or
going.
watch you be
You'll
in Hufflepuff,
send a link,
and I'll be like,
and
yes. Hufflepuff. I'm just saying.
My family did not escape the clutches of Stalin-era communism for their daughter to be a Hufflepuff.
That's not a dig at Hufflepuffs. I love Hufflepuffs. I think they're dope as hell. They're very kind, very compassionate. They love to eat food. They're the stoners of the houses.
I might be a Hufflepuff.
See?
The percentages, and
then we'll know for sure. Yeah.
Mary, do you take commissions for your crochet work? Because I think once we take this quiz, we're all gonna need like
scarves,
gear. Yeah, scarves. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing idea. I should.
There you go.
I should just. Do I have your permission to just go ahead and do it?
100%. 100%.
And then we'll see where it takes us.
100%. I'm into that. Well, scarves, yes, that is the route that is traditional that everyone will probably love. But also you make these adorable bucket hats. And so I'm kind of like I would love the bikinis. My house. Like, yeah.
That's cool. I would love to make, that's actually a great idea. See what I mean? Like collaborating, and I get ideas from everyone. Thank you. That's so cool. And maybe I can make a hat that like has all of them.
Ooh.
Like a little bit of, and the percentage.
Yeah. That is like, that level of talent is incredible.
Like a sliver of Slytherin.
It's like mostly red and gold, but like a little bit of green.
Yes. Oh, I love that idea. That's amazing.
Reminded me. So when Pottermore came out, one of my best friends throughout high school, we were like, we're Gryffindor, but when Pottermore came out, he called me sobbing. I'm not kidding. And I was like, are you okay? He's like, I just took the Pottermore quiz. I'm Slytherin. I've done it 3 or 4 times. I keep getting Slytherin. My mom is in the middle of making me a Gryffindor scarf. What do I do? And so it's literally half and half. It's half Gryffindor, and then the rest of the half is Slytherin.
You said scarf, right?
Yeah, it was a scarf. He was like, I don't want her to undo it. I was like, well, just, I don't know.
And that will be a reminder of that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. I think he still has it.
Okay. Too. So Harry Potter inspired collection. That's what's next for you.
I'm into that.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any other stuff that you have planned? Because I know you have really cute bucket hats. You have really cute crocheted bags. Do you have any other stuff that you are going to put up in your shop before we totally just kick the door down and started taking over the creative direction of your business?
I do actually. I am working on a sweater, a men's sweater at the moment, and it's going to be like a winter theme, kind of like a Scandinavian design, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's really, which is what now I have. Okay, ever since I started crocheting, I'm like noticing people's sweaters, and I'm always like, I love your sweater. No, like, I'm serious, I love your sweater. And they're like, thanks. And it's just I'm like, no, you don't understand like the amount of work it takes to make. And so it's just like I've always wanted to make a sweater, and it's it's a bigger project, so it takes me a while more. I wish I had like more arms or like help. I want to make more things, and it's always like that feeling of like it's not enough. I want to do more. But if you start on a sweater, it's gonna take you a while, and you can't really, you could do stuff in the background, but that will delay the sweater. So it's kind of this feeling of like, do I do a big project or do I do a bunch of small ones, or you know what? And also when somebody, so I do custom orders too. So when somebody orders something from me, I put aside what I was doing and start on their project.
Okay.
And so that causes delays on stuff that I want to do, but it's so fun because I love working with people. So they tell me their idea and like I make it happen, and that's like a really cool feeling too. Just seeing it at the end, like, is this what you wanted? They're like, oh my gosh, yes, you know. Or like right now next to me, I have a pile of like, let me show you.
Yeah.
A pile
Oh wow.
of like things that are gonna be a cardigan soon. And let me show you pieces of it, and let's see if you know what inspired this.
So exciting. Exclusive. Let's see.
Does this look like anything you guys know? Hold on. Let me bring that.
Oh, this is Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas.
This is Sally from Nightmare Before. Okay, so it's gonna be a patch cardigan, a patchwork cardigan of like her, like it's inspired by her.
Oh
and
wow!
It wasn't my idea, you know. I was like, my friend who loves the movie, and she's like, do you think you can make me something inspired by Sally? And she wanted it to be a cardigan, and she knew she wanted it to be a patch cardigan. And I was like, okay, sure, like let's do it. It sounds fun. And it takes a while, you know, but like I said, at the end when I see it together, and my favorite part is seeing them wear it. You better send me 20 pictures because I want to see it.
Yeah.
Done it for like so long, just let me see it on you. And that's what makes it all worth it. So I love working with people to bring like their ideas into like an actual something they can touch.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then they have a unique, one of a kind piece that no one else has. That's so special.
Yeah, it was made for them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it's not, I'm never going to make it exactly the same for anyone else. Even if you get like another order of the same thing, it's going to be different. Each thing is just one of it. Like you said.
That's so special. That's so special. I feel like especially now in this age of like instant gratification, fast fashion, mass production, it's like, I'm trying to be more thoughtful of what I buy and what I wear and what I fill in my life with. And I try so hard to make it as unique and artisanal as possible because, I mean, it's like cooking. Anyone that knows, that loves to cook or loves to eat, you can tell when something is made with love, like when the secret ingredient is love. It's cliche, but it's true. You can tell. And it's the same thing with a piece of art or something that's been crocheted, a cardigan, what have you. Like, you can tell when the love has gone into it, and you just feel that transfer of energy, and it's so special.
Yes, I totally agree. You can tell, and like cooking, definitely. I always say that. And growing up, my dad would always make food, and he would like tease us with, and there's one special ingredient, you know, and we were like, what? And he would never tell us until one day he was like, it's love. You know? I'm like, yeah, thanks, Dad. So and it's so true. You can taste it. It's literally like one extra thing that doesn't exist if you like buy it.
Yeah. Well, especially 100%. When like
100%.
certain people, just the way that they make things. Like one of my friends, I can't tell you how many times I've texted them like, how do you make your pancakes the way that you do? And they've explained to me step by step. And it's like, it's not even like from scratch batter. It's usually like store-bought, but it frustrates me because they're so perfect and fluffy and light and like the perfect, like golden brown and a little crispy. And I'm always like, how do you do this? But so I'm always like, no, your pancakes are the best. And I'm just like, it's you. It's just you. There's no other secret. It's just that person.
It's hard to recreate.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh.
That's why your items are hard to recreate. You said men's sweater. I think you should send it to Chris Evans.
Okay.
We know he looks good in a sweater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We need him wearing a hooked and looped original.
Wow. You're like
That's what we need.
speaking to my soul right now.
Listen, I'll make it happen. I'll be your PR / person that just weasels your sweater into the hands of Chris Evans' assistant.
You'll be my messenger.
Yeah, 100%. I don't care if I get arrested. I meant no harm. I was just trying to deliver a sweater.
It's very important. He needs to be kept warm.
I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want to cut this short, but I do have to go.
Yeah.
I have to leave my house soon.
Totally.
But I hope we got.
Yes.
We did. Just let the people know really quickly, where can they follow you? Where can they shop you? Just plug all of the things.
Yeah. So you can find my items on Instagram, hooked and the letter N looped. I take most of my orders there. You know, if you have like a custom order in mind or anything like that, you can DM me. I also have an Etsy that is in my Instagram's bio. You can find it there, and that's Hooked and Loop Shop. Perfect. Just has a shop at the end. Amazing. And yeah, you can talk to me directly, message me, and we can work whatever it is you have in mind out.
Yes. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Mary. This was such a good conversation. See you in the group chat.
I really enjoyed it. Okay, add me to the group chat. Send me the Harry Potter thing. Send me Chris Evans information once you get it.
Done. I gotta call my girl Lizzo. Done.
Yeah.
It was really.
I know. How inspirational was that conversation?
So beautiful. She's I love that, like, how much she checked in with herself when she got into law school, and she's like, yeah, absolutely not. I can't do this. Like, because I think a lot of people go, well, I just have to push through this and continue to be really uncomfortable. And there's a difference between like being uncomfortable and pushing yourself to grow in the direction that you want versus continuing to do something that makes you absolutely miserable because it's the expectations that others have pushed onto you. And I love that, even though it really like stressed her out and was a very hard decision to make, she ultimately did the thing that was right for her. And I love listening to her story, and she's lovely, and
she has such an honor to have her aura. Yeah, she's just like a glowy human. Yeah, it reminded me when she was talking about that, like going to the orientation and just like having those conversations of like what you do in law school is going to be literally what you do in your career, and her realizing it. It reminded me of a friend of mine who got into med school, was working for a very long time to get into med school, got into Columbia Medical School, which is wow. Went to the orientation, met someone that wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon who was in her class. And he said to her, like, if someone offered me $1 million or the chance to work on a broken tibia, like I would work on a broken tibia. And she was like, in that moment, I realized like I would much rather have the $1 million. And then it like kind of snowballed into like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. And I don't always think like money is the best way to think about it, but it kind of is, like, in a way of like, you and I have talked about this, and I think I've talked about this on air. I'm in a place now in my career where I'm making like really good money, and it's really nice. And it's for one of the first times in my life, because growing up, like finances were always a huge concern. And so there is like a level of comfort and happiness that I now have being in a very financially secure position. However, there are most of the time I'm like, you know, I think I want to find that balance of where maybe if things get a little tight from time to time, but like, I would rather have that and be able to do something like have a creative career and doing something that I give a shit about 100% than then feeling like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like that existential dread that you tend to feel. So yeah, that idea of like, if there's something where it's like this or $1 million and your default is, wait, I would rather take $1 million, then maybe that thing isn't the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Simon Sinek had a really good post on LinkedIn the other day which if y'all don't know Simon Sinek, he's incredible. He like really focuses on empathy and compassion and inclusion and community when it comes to work, instead of just like a lot of the corporatized, like show up, punch a card, get paid, blah, blah, blah. And he posted something that said, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it said something like, if your justification for why you love your job is only that you get paid a certain amount, like you don't really love your job.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there.
Yeah. And I will say, I think there are some people who like that is perfectly fine. Like, I can't remember who we were talking to or what I was listening to, where there are like, if, you know, driving half an hour or 45 minutes to your job, clocking in, doing a job that you don't really give a shit about, but it doesn't take anything from you. And then coming home and having, if you have that good work-life balance where you still have time to do the things you really enjoy and you're super fulfilled by, and when you're at work, that's not the thing that defines you, I think. And if that's what you want and what you love, I think that's beautiful. I do think there are a lot of people, and I find more so with creatives, and maybe it's just because those are most of the people that I know and that's the field that I'm in. Like we want to give a shit about our jobs. We want our jobs to be something that when we go to, we're all in and it fulfills us, it gives back to us, and we can put ourselves into it as well. And striking that balance where you still also feel like you get to be your own person outside of it, I think it's so important. Yeah. But I think a lot of jobs just take from you. They don't, they don't give anything. And even if the paycheck is really good, they're still taking more than they're giving you. And that's where it's like, okay, fuck this. I'm out.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's become part of our society, like ingrained in our culture, that what you do is part of who you are, a large part of who you are. That's not the case. But if you think about it, when you meet a new person, what is like the first or the second thing they ask you, right? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. And
that's
I will
such
say
a prevalent question.
That is such an American thing. It is such an American thing. Because when I was in 100%. The UK, people, they would ask like, because clearly I wasn't English, they would go, oh, why are you here? And I would tell them, I'm studying abroad for theater. And they would be like, that's amazing. And then it wasn't, okay, so like, where do you wait tables? Like that was never a question. Then it was like, oh, if they did mention their career, it was always like, oh, I'm in finance. And I just think like the arts is such a fascinating world that I don't know anything about. And then it immediately went into us having questions about it, like the way that you view the world, or not so much like, so finance, like, tell me what that's like it. Yeah. Careers, if it was mentioned, it was more because, at least for me, like that was the reason I was in the UK in the first place. Yeah. But yeah, it's such an American thing to be like, so what do you do in the world?
Yeah, it is very much a piece of American culture to give value to someone based on what they do rather than who they are as an individual. Yep. And oftentimes we won't even explore that. Maybe it's a little too vulnerable for us. We want to be proper. So like we'll talk about the weather, we'll talk about careers, things like that. And I'm reading Big Magic from Elizabeth Gilbert right now. And Elizabeth Gilbert, if you don't know, is the author of Eat, Pray, Love. Okay. She's an incredible writer. And she talked about how, like, when she was 16 years old, she made a vow with herself that she was going to write every single day, not to make a career out of it, not to expect any sort of success, not to expect any sort of end goal, but literally just because she loves it and she wanted to give it the space and the respect in her life. And she talks about all of the jobs that she has had. She was a ranch hand. She was a waitress. She had all of these little odd jobs. And she's like, I didn't focus on those. The only thing I needed those to be were ways for me to pay so that I had time and space to write. She's like, all of those were supportive of my writing. And I never expected my writing to be my full-time career. I never expected to get success from it. I just wanted to be able to give myself the space and the opportunity to write. And so all of her jobs were literally for that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if your job is something that you don't hate, but also like, you don't have to be obsessed with it. It doesn't have to be part of your personality. But if it sets you up to be able to have the time and the space and the energy to give to a hobby that you really love, and if you end up monetizing that hobby, great. But like, as long as it fuels you and you have the means to support that and like have space for it, that's what matters. And so she was saying that, and I was like, that's so true. But how many of us try to, even if it's something like a hobby or something we love, try to turn it into like a career? Or like, I remember when I was talking to people about our podcasts and how I left my corporate job to focus on podcasting full time. And so many people were just like, what? Like, first of all, what is a podcast? And then also a lot of people were just like, so like, how do you make money? Like, what?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I very much had to justify like, okay, well, I'm doing these podcasts, but also like I'm doing this other stuff on the side that actually makes me money and blah, 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 blah. And so I would justify that. And then I was like, fuck that. Like, who do I have to justify myself to? Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, again, it's this like capitalist society that we live under. And again, the American idea of everything is always like, you think about the American dream, right? It's a big house with a white picket fence. Like, again, those are material things that require money to obtain versus like, if the American dream was to have a fulfilled life that matters, right? And something that you wake up and you are excited to participate in, that's so different, because that could be anything. It could be any number of things. And there's this post that I keep seeing around on like Instagram and I think on LinkedIn of like, so much of American society is about being the best, right? Like being number one. So if you go into a corporate world, the idea is that you're just going to keep hustling and fighting to, you know, you started as an admin and then you become an office manager and then a district manager. And then you go into central operations and then you become like, the idea is that you want to become the CEO. And for some people they do. And then for some people they don't, they want to continue to be an admin because that is enough. But there's this idea that like, that's not okay. You should always want more. And it's okay if you don't. Like, it's okay if that's the thing that fulfills you, or that's the thing that like gives you enough financial stability that you can do things outside of that fulfill you. But yeah, again, it's like this hustle culture of anything that you do should always be about getting money, because that's what you want, right? You want to have more money so you can have the bigger house, the bigger whatever. And for a lot of people, I don't think they do want those things, but you've been force fed this idea that you do, like, that's what you should want.
Yeah.
And so you try to trick yourself into wanting those things. Then when you step back, I mean, it's what Mary did, right? Like, she was going to go to law school because she was told like, that's what you should want. And then at a certain point she went, oh, I don't want any of this. And so she pulled away from that and started living a life that was more meaningful to her. And I think you become so much more fulfilled and so much more happier with it. There's, I've been reading, what is it? Not Go Fuck Yourself. What is the name of that book?
Go Unfuck Yourself?
No, it's something.
How to Not Give a Fuck?
Something
like that.
No, it's something similar, but it's, hold on, it's right over here. Let me see if I can find it. Too many books. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yes.
And he talks about in early on in the book, and it is like a very Buddhist mindset, but the whole question of what are you willing to suffer for? Because life is suffering. You're always going to suffer. There's always like, and I think it's really beautiful. He's like, in so many cultures in the world, and especially in American culture, sometimes it's like my goal this year is to be happier. Well, what does that mean? Right? Like happiness ebbs and flows, but you can't think of it that way, because what winds up happening is then when you're not happy, you beat yourself up, you feel terrible because you're like, I'm not happy today, so there's something wrong with me. It becomes very internalized versus like if you focus on living a life where like the whole goal is to have better problems, right? Like, because there's always going to be problems. But if you figure out what you're willing to suffer for and what is okay to suffer for, and you live your life in that realm, because again, you're always going to suffer, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like when you can figure those things out, you will have a happier life, because the things that you're willing to struggle for are things that matter to you. And so you can be fulfilled by those things when they're really good. And then when times get hard, you can go, but it still matters and it's still important. And this suffering isn't for nothing. Like there's a reason behind it. And anyway, I think it's a really beautiful approach to life. And it also acknowledges that like, if you're not happy today, that's okay. Like you can't be one note all of the time. That's really detrimental to your mental health and to your physical well-being. And it's unrealistic.
It's also boring.
Yeah. Like what the fuck? Like there's no moment to be uncomfortable and grow. And it's harder to learn a lesson when you're one note in your emotions. But
well, also, I mean, like all of those things are great, but they also suck, to be honest. Like my main thing is like, if you are always happy all the time or trying to be happy all the time, you're never truly happy in the utmost form, right? Because you're only really living in that safe middle zone. In order to feel true, unbridled joy and happiness, you're inevitably going to have to feel the other side of the spectrum, which is going to be pain. And by mitigating that pain in order to feel joy or happiness, you're never going to feel the full expression of joy and happiness. So if anything, just if you want to be truly, truly, truly happy, then you got to feel pain every once in a while. It's like, again, not to bring it back to my puppy, but I'm going to bring it back to my puppy. It's like, he can be a terror sometimes. He can chew on things he's not supposed to chew on and do things that make me very frustrated and not listen to me and make me like literally cry sometimes because I'm so frustrated. But then there are those moments, and I've heard people talk this way about their kids, their human children too, where there are these moments where they give you love and they give you joy and they give you happiness and they give you such a boost of dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and all of those amazing things that you're like, oh, this is what it's for, like these moments. And so I think like feel happiness in its truest form, and to do that, accept that it's not going to be all the time. Yeah. But it'll be like nothing is permanent. Happiness isn't permanent, but also suffering isn't permanent.
Right.
So like just come to terms with that. And obviously in any way that you can or must, or don't listen to me. I am literally no one.
Yeah. This is all personal opinion. Do with it what you will.
Yes.
Well, that was...
We love Mary.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And it was such a joy to have her on the show. So.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yep.
Call us. Call us, Beebas, if you want to reach us. 707-892-0401. 707-892-0401. You can call us, or you can even just text us. We accept text messages.
Ew.
Which I recently found out.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah. Cool. Good to know. Amazing. Well, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, rate, and review. Please. All those
5 stars, please.
All those things.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll catch y'all next week.
On the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
I'm delirious.
It's like a sliding whistle.